Great. So, welcome to this talk about the DeAqua bottle, which is this amazing portable bottle here, a bit bigger than my hand, and it has some fantastic capabilities that I'm going to talk about this evening. So I'm going to share my screen and show you some slides as I talk, and hopefully you'll get a good understanding of this bottle and how it can be invaluable in building our health, strengthening our health, and also in detoxing. So just let me share my screen. Right, just see why that's not getting any bigger. Okay. Whoops. That's the button I wanted, couldn't find it. Great. So here we go with the slides. So the bottle I'm going to talk about is a hydrogen and ozone generator, or at least a generator that makes hydrogen water and ozone water, to be clear. And it's called the DeAqua, and it's made by a company called Deta Elis, who made this bottle as a support product to aid people's health whilst they were using the mini bioresonance treatment devices. But it's also a fantastic standalone product in its own right, hence this talk. So this bottle has the ability to improve our health by creating water that's absolutely filled, saturated with molecular hydrogen. Hydrogen that we can drink within the water or that we can inhale as a gas. And I'll tell you more about how we can inhale hydrogen with this bottle a bit further on. We can also make ozone water, which has fantastic disinfecting properties. So I'll be talking about how we can use ozone water in various areas of our life where we might need something that's antiseptic or antibiotic or antifungal or antiviral. The water that is created in this bottle also has a really powerful effect in rejuvenating us at a cellular level. And it does this by removing not just toxins, but free radicals. So this is something I'll be talking more about and explaining as we go by. So let's begin by taking a look at the healing effects of hydrogen water. Now, there have been many studies, hundreds of studies. It says here 340, but I heard a podcast recently that said there were over 1,000 studies into hydrogen water. And you can look up pretty much any condition and find research, if you look online, done into hydrogen water and that condition. Here are a few of the leading troublesome conditions of our time at the moment, things like heart disease and cancers and strokes and respiratory disorders. And you can look online and find research projects that have been done into all of these. And they come up with fantastic results showing ways in which hydrogen can aid these conditions. So I'm not going to go into all of that research now, but I think it's nice to know that there is an awful lot of research available, and it's very easily available. And I've spoken to quite a few doctors about this, and they all seem to know, oh yes, hydrogen, that's one of those things that's really good for all sorts of different areas of health. So some of the benefits of molecular hydrogen are here. These are just a few of them. It's said, and these are results showing in some of those research studies I just mentioned, results have shown that toxins are removed, that blood sugar is kept in check, that cholesterol is lowered, that immunity is boosted, that cells are protected from damage, that tiredness and fatigue is reduced, that skin and hair improve, and so on and so forth. You can read all of these bubbles. There's lots and lots of positive effects that hydrogen water has. And I've had some really lovely experiences myself using hydrogen water. In fact, when I first discovered the DeAqua bottle that I'm going to talk more about in a moment, I started drinking hydrogen water and my brain sort of cleared. I felt like I could really focus and think much more clearly and quickly and with more focus. My memory improved, and there was this kind of neurological ping that happened. It was as if someone switched a light switch on, switched a light on rather in my brain. And one of the things that was interesting that I noticed was that my hair, which was beginning to go a little bit grey, reverted back to being browner rather than greyer when I started drinking hydrogen water. And I've, over the last few years, had many clients who have started drinking hydrogen water, and they've voluntarily, without me asking, sent in emails saying things like, oh, I've got so much more energy. Oh, I've got a skip in my step. That was what an 80-year-old client said. Oh, my reproductive challenges have improved, one woman said. I had someone with a scalp and hair condition that they had to take heavy medication for. And they said when they started drinking hydrogen water, their scalp condition cleared up and they didn't need the medication. I had someone else who emailed in and said that they were reliant on a certain form of medical eye drops for an eye condition. But after drinking hydrogen water for a few weeks, their eyes didn't need the eye drops. They were fine without them. They weren't itchy, they weren't irritated. And there's always more stories coming in. So I can't tell you how hydrogen water would affect you, but it's nice to know that there's many ways in which it can help. And of course, it's quite individual. So it's a matter of drinking the water, I guess, and finding out how it affects any one of us. So let's look a little bit more into this. We all kind of know that we get older, and as we get older, there's this thing called the aging process. But what we don't all know is that what we think of as the aging process doesn't really have to be the aging process that most of us assume it is. Yes, we get older, but we don't necessarily have to get grey hair, wrinkly eyes, wrinkly faces, become tireder and weaker, and some of the things associated with aging. And that's because, at least one of the reasons why I say that, is because free radicals are hugely responsible for the aging process. They play a huge part in the changes to our skin and to our hair in particular, as well as other things. So let's have a little look at what free radicals are, because they are hugely affected by molecular hydrogen. So you probably know this very simply. Our atoms, our healthy atoms, have these pairs of electrons circling around them. But free radicals are a different sort of atom which have a missing electron, so that instead of having pairs, some of those pairs will have an electron missing. And to survive, they need to fill that gap and join up a pair with the single electron. And so what they do is they come and they, not quite there, they steal one of the healthy, or the electrons from the healthy atom. And what happens then is that we begin to degenerate one way or another. So where do these free radicals come from? I'll say more about free radicals in a minute. They come from many, many places, and we can't necessarily control to a large degree how we pick up these free radicals, because they're around us in the environment, in the sprays, the pesticides that are put on the fields, on the crops. They come from drugs, they come from the pollution in the air, from industrial chemicals. There's a lot of free radicals coming from alcohol, toxic heavy metals, from sources of radiation, and let's face it, there's radiation absolutely everywhere at the moment, from smoking, and from other places too, obviously from the food we eat. So it's very difficult to decide not to absorb any free radicals. We're constantly taking them in, even from the oxygen that we breathe. Even if we think our air is pure, it's likely that some of that air we take in will become harmful because it will contain free radicals. So let's come back to how free radicals create damage in the body. So as I was mentioning earlier, we might have a healthy cell made of atoms with pairs of electrons circling around the edge. And then we have a free radical coming in from the pollution in the air or from some of these other sources. And that free radical wants to survive, but it's got some missing electrons. And so it goes to the healthy cell and it says, right, I'm going to take one of your electrons. And when that happens, the healthy cell stops being healthy and it begins to show signs of degeneration, disease, signs of aging. However, we can interrupt that process by taking in antioxidants, and molecular hydrogen is a really powerful antioxidant because antioxidants have essentially extra electrons. They're molecules that can give some of their electrons to the free radical to fill the missing gap, and that neutralizes the free radical. It stops it from being able to steal and take from the healthy cell, and so we don't get the degeneration. So the more antioxidants we can take in, the more we can eliminate or neutralize our free radicals, and the healthier our cells will be as a result. So it's really quite important that we take in antioxidants. This is a summary of the theory about free radicals. Basically talking about how free radicals, as they steal those electrons from the healthy cells, will create states of oxidative stress. This is the state where a cell is prone to damage, and we think we're showing signs of aging, but it might not be aging, it might just be we've had an excess of free radicals creating lots of oxidative stress in our bodies. And when we have oxidative stress, we can easily be prone to diseases like Alzheimer's, different forms of dementia, cardiovascular diseases, autoimmune and inflammatory conditions, cataracts, loss of skin elasticity, greying hair, that's what I experienced, and degenerative diseases, and the list could go on and on and on. So it's really important we find a way to stop the oxidative stress process from happening within our bodies. Because this is what it looks like. Obviously, this isn't what it looks like in our bodies, but this is an example with an apple that you can relate to your own body. So here we have a normal, healthy cell, and it's a bit like a nice, beautiful, delicious apple sitting there waiting to be eaten. But if that cell is attacked by free radicals here, so we have the free radicals coming in and taking all the electrons from the healthy cell, it begins to degenerate and it creates this state of oxidative stress. So if we bring in the apple, we can see that as the cell is first attacked by the free radical, we begin to have signs of kind of wrinkling and aging, we could say. This is what the apple would look like inside. It's beginning to go a bit brown to discolor. And as the cell becomes more filled with oxidative stress and this oxidative state takes over, we see, in this case, the apple becoming really quite manky and horrible. And I'm sure you've all cut an apple open and left it out in the air and seen the oxidation process as it gradually goes brown. I'm sure we've all done that. So here we see an apple on the inside. It's going brown. It's not in a healthy state at all. So if you liken the states of this apple to ourselves, to our own body, it's not difficult to see how in this state, when we're healthy, we have enough antioxidants in our system that our free radicals aren't creating damage, our appearance is more youthful. And as free radicals multiply and create states of oxidative stress increasingly, that we degenerate, and internally we end up showing signs of aging or signs of dis-ease or degeneration. So when you look at these pictures, for me, it's easy to go, oh my God, I don't want to be like that manky apple. I want to be like this delicious white apple. I want to stay youthful. I want to stay healthy. I want to have energy. I want my body to function well. So back we come to hydrogen, because hydrogen, as I mentioned, is the most fabulous, potent, powerful antioxidant. Hydrogen, as you probably know, is a gas, and you can't taste it or see it or smell it. You can't even feel it. But when it's inside your body, it has this powerful therapeutic effect. And if you consume hydrogen-rich water over a period of time, those therapeutic effects will build and grow, and you'll certainly begin to notice a difference. So this is another picture showing what I was just talking about, with the hydrogen, in this case, as an antioxidant, giving its electrons to the free radical so it can't do any damage. We've looked at that already. So here's an experiment. We're back to the apple, but we're looking now at the apple in relation to hydrogen water. So this was an experiment that was done to look at the effects of oxidation, so the oxidative stress situation. So here's an apple that's been cut and it's exposed to the air. It hasn't been exposed to the air as long as the apple I showed you previously. It's not quite that wrinkly yet, but you can see it's quite brown. So it's been oxidizing in the air. Now, if we had cut the apple and straight away put it into a glass of tap water or normal water, whatever that is, we'd see that there's a little bit of oxidation, but it's not so obvious. It's not too much, but there is a bit. However, compare that with if we were to slice an apple and put it into a glass of hydrogenated water. There's no oxidation at all. It stays beautifully pale coloured, just as it was when you first cut it. So again, compare the states of the apple with your body. If you could be drinking hydrogen water and feeding your cells, hydrating your body with hydrogen water, this is what your insides might look like rather than this. You're going to stay in a much healthier state with far less oxidative stress, if any. So let's talk a little bit about molecular hydrogen as a molecule. One of the reasons that hydrogen water has such a potent effect is that molecular hydrogen is absolutely tiny. In fact, it's the smallest antioxidant that exists, which means that it can penetrate deeply into the cell and into even the mitochondria of the cell, the energy-giving part of the cell. So compare here the size of this molecular, this hydrogen molecule with vitamin C or CoQ-enzyme 10 or vitamin E. These are all other antioxidants here. You can see in numbers and in scale, molecular hydrogen is far smaller. So the body is going to be able to use it much more easily. In fact, it not just goes straight into the heart of each cell, but it also goes through the blood-brain barrier to nourish and feed our neurological tissue. So again, you can see here how these bigger antioxidant molecules, they can't easily diffuse through into the cell, but these little hydrogen molecules can fit through these gaps very easily and get to the places that they need to go to eliminate the free radicals right at their very source. And when those the molecules of hydrogen, come into the body, one of the effects they have is that they create and release antioxidant enzymes that will lead to repair in the cell rather than degeneration. So those enzymes will cancel out the free radicals that are being produced otherwise by the cells, and the types of free radicals that are produced. It will cancel them out, and that whole aging process will slow down, which is fantastic. Now I had, this is an example of this, I was exhibiting at a integrative medicine show in London a while back, and a woman came up who had a hydrogen bottle from a different company. And she said, oh, I bought this bottle and it was great. I was drinking hydrogen and I looked so different. My whole face looked more youthful and my wrinkles lessened. But then the bottle broke. It wasn't one of the bottles I sell. It was from a completely different company. She said it broke, and I wasn't able to get another one. And she said, look at the state of me. I'm getting all my wrinkles back, and I feel tired and my eyes are kind of baggy. And it was just quite funny at the time that she came to me because she saw that I was selling these DeAqua hydrogen bottles, and she said, look at the state of me. I can't live like this. I need my hydrogen bottle. But of course I couldn't fix her bottle because it was nothing to do with me. But it was a nice little illustration of how she had noticed such a big difference through drinking hydrogen water. Now, one of the great things about hydrogen water and molecular hydrogen in general is that it's completely safe. So it's safe to drink, it's safe to inhale, it's safe to use, and it's safe to take in to different degrees. You can drink half a glass of hydrogen water a day, or you can drink 10 glasses of hydrogen water a day, and it's safe. There's not going to be any harmful effects or nasty kind of sensations as a result. So it's easy to use for the whole family, basically. I was mentioning earlier about the clinical trials that have been done, and now it's, as I said, far more than 340 trials that have been done. These are just a few of them that you can look up. And here is a summary of some of the things that these trials showed. So this one at the top showed that molecular hydrogen gives an increase in energy, mental clarity and focus. So this is exactly what I started noticing even from just drinking one bottle of hydrogen water when I was first introduced with this. Here's a study that showed it helped maintain a healthy weight. There's another study here that shows that athletic performance was enhanced. And this is something a lot of people say, that because hydrogen feeds the mitochondria of the cells, it gives more energy. So very often people who are involved with a lot of exercise or sports will drink hydrogen water because they find, one, it gives them a bit of extra oomph, but two, it also helps after the exercise with muscle aches or other avoiding muscle aches and signs of stress to the muscles. So here again for performers, increased endurance. And you can see here that these are just a few of the trials that have been done. Lots of lovely positive results coming from those trials. And as mentioned, you can look up now hundreds, 1,000 or more even on the internet for all sorts of things. I was looking at one a few weeks ago about how hydrogen has been proven to help with circulation, which I hadn't known about. So let's look at this bottle itself now. So I was showing you earlier, this is the DeAqua bottle. It holds about 450 millilitres of water, so just under half a litre. And we can use it in a variety of ways. We can use it to create hydrogen water. We can use it to create ozone water. And we can use it as a nebulizer to inhale hydrogen. And it also has a few other helpful assets, like the fact that it's portable, that you can easily carry it around. Not only that, you can leave the glass bottle behind and just take the base with a little attachment that it comes with. And if you're on holiday or away from the day, you can hydrogenate a whole big mineral water bottle if you were to buy one. So it's a fantastic tool for your health generally. Very versatile. Comes in a box with lots of attachments. You don't get the woman with the bottle, but you do get lots of things in these mysterious boxes here to enable you to nebulize hydrogen. So when making hydrogen, we've got two strengths of hydrogen that we can make. We can hydrogenate a bottle of water for either 5 minutes or for 10 minutes. So I would say for everyday usage, 5 minutes is fine. But if you're feeling a little bit tired, or you've just done a workout of some sort, or you're maybe feeling like you're beginning to get a cold or something, you could boost yourself by hydrogenating the water for 10 minutes, having a bit more strength to it. And it's really simple to do. There's a power button here in the bottom, and to hydrogenate the water, all you do is press it a couple of times. Now, can you see there's some activity there? A bit challenging on Zoom to show you, but I think you can see the big wide column of bubbles rising up the middle there. And that will happen for 5 minutes. And then the water will be filled with hydrogen, or we could press the button a little bit differently, 3 presses instead of 2, and we would hydrogenate the water for 10 minutes. And then you're good to go. You can simply drink it. As I mentioned, the bottle comes with this attachment here that you can screw onto the base. So if you're going away on holiday and you don't want to take the glass bottle with you, you can just take this little base with this attachment, and you could buy a mineral water bottle. Now, I've often done this with a kind of 1.5 litre bottle. You screw the top on, you turn the bottle upside down, and then I would always press the button to hydrogenate the bottle for 10 minutes, because I'm personally using a bigger bottle if I'm away on holiday. And then you've hydrogenated the entire bottle. And it also comes with some attachments in a bag that will help you to fit any size of mineral water neck into the attachment here, because some bottles have a slightly wider neck and some are a little bit narrower. So it's handy to have an adapter. Now, one of the things that people often like to know is about the oxidation reduction potential, or the ORP. It's not something I have looked at so much, but we're coming back to the apples here. We're looking at the potential of the hydrogen water to reduce that process of oxidation that creates oxidative stress. So the DeAqua hydrogen bottle has an incredibly low ORP value, which is what we want. It will hydrogenate the water up to 2100 or 2100 parts per billion. So very high readings of molecular hydrogen. Now, in terms of the oxidation reduction potential, just to give you an idea, by looking at a scale of different drinks, Coca-Cola and drinks like that have a very high oxidation potential. So up here around the 500 mark. So things are going to oxidize very easily in the presence of drinks like this. Moving down the scale past the 0 mark, all the way down to -500, and DeAqua's down to -700. So it's way down here looking at DeAqua hydrogen water, which is why if you put an apple in hydrogen water, there wouldn't be any colour change. So really important piece of work, being able to avoid that oxidative stress. So the DeAqua bottle also comes with a piece of tubing. It's not just tubing, it's carefully adapted to be used to be able to nebulize or inhale hydrogen. And this is really useful if you have any neurological damage, or the beginnings of any issues with neurodegenerative diseases, brain damage, cognitive damage, memory issues, and that sort of thing, brain issues, but also with respiratory conditions. So by inhaling the hydrogen, on the one hand, the hydrogen will go through the blood-brain barrier and start feeding, nourishing, and repairing your neurological tissue. But on the other hand, it will feed and clean and cleanse your respiratory mucous membranes. So if you have that slight feeling that you might be about to get a sore throat or a cold or something like that, and you sit down and you nebulize hydrogen for 10 minutes or so, my experience is of feeling not only calm and de-stressed from the hydrogen, because it has a very calming effect, but also feeling very clean, and those little sensations, usually with me, will disappear. So it's very useful to have to help with these sorts of situations, but also to use to help de-stress you after a busy day. And you can see here in the picture, the tube that I held up just now has some very soft bendy ends that simply fit inside your nostrils, and there's a loop that fits around your head over your ears that you can tighten up to adjust so it stays on your head without having to hold it. And it's very comfortable. And you simply breathe in the hydrogen. You can't smell it, you can't hear it, you can't feel it. But after 10 minutes of breathing in the hydrogen, it will, well, you're likely to notice a difference. I certainly do. So I highly recommend inhaling hydrogen. Now, the other thing the bottle does is it doesn't just make hydrogen water. As I mentioned earlier, it also makes ozonated water. And ozonated water isn't something that we're going to drink. And you can drink ozone water if it's made with an external oxygen canister. But the DeAqua bottle works through a process of electrolysis. So when we're making ozone water with electrolysis, it's advised not to drink it. So what we're going to do with the ozone water is use it to clean and to help situations where you want to get rid of bacteria, fungi, viruses, those sorts of things. So to give you some examples, it's a brilliant substance to use as a mouth gargle or a throat gargle to prevent infections or to help if you do have a bit of a sore throat. You can also use it as a mouthwash. So when you've brushed your teeth, have a little gargle and a swizzle around with ozone water, and it will kill any bacteria that's left in your mouth and throat. You can also use it as a foot bath. If you're prone to fungal nail infections or fungal skin infections, you can bathe your feet in ozone water. If you have a cut or graze or a wound of some sort, again, wash it in ozone water because it's antibacterial. It's one of those substances a little bit like colloidal silver. Obviously, it's nothing to do with colloidal silver, but colloidal silver is one of those substances that, again, you can use for all sorts of things if you need antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, antibiotic properties. So ozone water is quite multifunctional. You can also use it to help gum disease. I've had many people have brilliant results who have had gum disease using ozone water. And you can use it to wash fruit and vegetables or the skin on your face, anywhere you like, really. And certainly the feedback about that has been really wonderful. So in order to make either ozone water or hydrogen water, there has to be some technology, there has to be a process going on. And as mentioned, this is a process that happens with electrolysis plates separated between a membrane. And whilst the generator is working, the electrolysis plates will either remove hydrogen from the water and release the oxygen, or remove the oxygen and release the hydrogen, depending on what you tell the generator to do. That's a very clever piece of technology. And this device, the DeAqua bottle, is a really high quality device. It has all the regulative stamps and certificates that are needed to show that it has the proper standard of electrolysis plates and membranes. And it produces very, very pure hydrogens, 99.99% pure, which is brilliant. The materials used to make the bottle are all toxic free. The glass is Pyrex glass, non-leaching. And the waste gas products that are produced exit through the back of the device, so there's none left in the water. There are many, many hydrogen bottles around on the market, and some of them are ridiculously cheap. But if you look into them, you will more often than not find, at least all the ones I've found to have cheap quality products, cheap quality materials, sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. And it's quite regularly that have someone come to me who said, I bought this hydrogen bottle elsewhere and the lid's broken, or the glass is broken, or the generator's broken, or something's gone wrong after quite a short space of time. One of the other things I've found with many of the kind of cheaper bottles is that they have a very short generator life. So they look all singing, all dancing, but if you look at the small print, which most people don't, it will say that the generator life is sort of 70 hours or something like that. Whereas this generator in the DeAqua bottle has a life of around 5,000 hours, which is massive if you think that it only takes 5 minutes to make a bottle of hydrogen water. So there's a lot of reasons why, well, I personally would say this bottle is at the top of its game and is a really good piece of kit to buy. The 5,000 generating hours equates to roughly 13,500 litres of hydrogen water that are being made. Now, I've had this bottle here that I held up, I've had this for 4 years, and I probably hydrogenate about 4 bottles of water a day, and I wouldn't know it's not brand new. It's still working absolutely perfectly and doing a grand job. So we can use hydrogen water not just for ourselves as humans, but also for our pets. We can help our lovely little puppies or kitties become healthier as well, because of course they need help removing their free radicals. They need help to stay in a state of regeneration rather than degeneration. So you can feed it to your animals. I guess the thing that I haven't mentioned is that when you've hydrogenated or ozonated a bottle of water, the gas will stay in there for a couple of hours. Obviously, if you take the lid off or you pour it into a glass of water, it's going to evaporate more quickly. So if you pour a glass of hydrogen water into a cat bowl, let's say, by the end of the day, it won't be hydrogenated water anymore. It all will have evaporated. So it is good to hydrogenate it when you need it. Let's face it, it only takes 5 minutes. So it's not long to wait if you want some water to drink or some ozone to clean something with. So the other thing it's worth mentioning is that you can program your hydrogen water with different health-giving frequencies if you have any of the mini bioresonance devices that I was talking about in my talk yesterday. So it's a really lovely thing to do if you have the energy device here, which has some beautiful programs for energizing the body or de-stressing the body or harmonizing the energy flow around the body, creating states of abundance. Or if you have the detox device, the AP, or the restorative device, the RITM device, you can take any of the programs within those devices and hold the device against the DeAqua bottle. So you can lean the device against it, or you can get a rubber band to hold it against it. And you can play the program with the back of the device facing the bottle, because the antennae is in the back of the device. So if you hold the back against the bottle, it will emit its bioresonance frequencies into the water. And towards the end of the program, you can press the button to add the hydrogen. And then when you drink the water, you'll be drinking water that's programmed, that's structured with those particular frequencies. So that's a really wonderful thing to do. And if you don't know about the mini devices, do get in contact and ask me, and I can send you a copy of one of my talks about that. So here we have the 3 devices I've just mentioned, and also some of the other products that Deta Elis, the company who makes this hydrogen bottle, also make, because their approach is to address health from a variety of angles, to give nutritional support, frequency support, to give hydrogen and ozone water support. And many people will buy combinations of their products to have a kind of 360-degree approach to improving their health. So again, I'm happy to talk more about any of these nutritional or frequency products here if you'd like to know more. So let me come to the end of the screen sharing here. Come back to the main screen. So thank you so much for listening to this introduction to the DeAqua bottle.